Hello guys, it is me again, it's HorrorFan34, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to day 21 of my 31 days of horror in October. Now that we are on day 21 of my 31 days of October, why not review another film that I feel is very underrated? Like I said before, if you haven't been watching these reviews, if you are new to this marathon, basically for the month of October, I'm reviewing one horror film per day for the month of Halloween. That'll be a cool thing to do. And all these reviews that I'm doing are some of my personal favorites of all time. Well, pretty much every single review that I'm doing for the month of October are on some of my personal favorite horror films. You know, I've been reviewing classics, underrated ones, remakes, slashers, underrated gems, obscure ones, etc., etc. Now that we are on day 21, I figured I'd review another one that I feel is a very underrated creature film that gets hated on a lot. I know it got hated on a lot back in the day, and I think it doesn't get talked about as much nowadays, and I find it very underrated. I know a lot of people really wouldn't say this is technically a horror film, but you know, it's an adventure horror film, because it is a creature feature film. It deals with a snake. And of course you can tell by the title, that review is going to be on Anaconda. Now, Anaconda was released in 1997, directed by Luis Loza. I think that's how you say the director's name. I don't think he's gone on to do much ever since this movie, but Anaconda was a film that came out, did make quite a bit of money. Cost about $45 million bucks, and it made about 130-some million worldwide. So it made a good chunk of change at the box office. I mean, it was popular enough that it got sequels. Anaconda's The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, and then 2 made for Sci-Fi. Anaconda 3 with David Hasselhoff, and Anaconda 4 with Lyndon Ashby, Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat. So apparently this film was a bigger enough hit that they spawned some sequels to this film. And you know, seeing all the Anaconda films, I mean, this is still without a doubt the best one of the whole series, in my opinion. I mean, because the first Anaconda film was very simple story, and on top of that too, I think it has a better cast out of all the other ones. I mean, the cast in this film, you know, you have Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, Jon Voight, Eric Stoltz, among many others. But I'll get into that in the plot. But basically, the film itself is very simple. Basically, you have a documentary film crew who are trying to find this tribe out in the Amazon, and basically what's out there is a gigantic anaconda snake. And of course, you have Jon Voight is pretty much your bad guy, pretty much. He was pretty much like a crazy villain, Jon Voight. And the documentary film crew, you have Jennifer Lopez, you have Ice Cube as the cameraman, you have Eric Stoltz, who's kind of the leader of the documentary crew. Eric Stoltz you've seen in quite a few films. And then some of the other people on there, you have Owen Wilson, long before Wedding Crashers, among others. Yep, Owen Wilson was in this, well before his comedy days. So, early role by Owen Wilson. You also have Carrie Wooer, who you've seen in quite a few horror films before, whether it be, you know, The Hitcher 2, Eight-Legged Freaks, Stephen King's Thinner, Hellraiser Deader. She was on those TV show Sliders in the later years. So you've seen Carrie Wooer in quite a few horror films. And also one of the other people on the documentary crew is Jonathan Hyde, who is pretty much like the guy who talks in front of the camera and things like that. I mean, Jonathan Hyde, I mean, if you know your movie trivia, I mean, you look up Jonathan Hyde, I mean, he's been in so many films in his career. He was in, the Mummy with Brendan Fraser. He was in Jumanji with Robin Williams. He was in Titanic. And of course, if you grew up in the '90s, he was in Richie Rich. He was the butler. He was Richie Rich's friend. The butler, and Richie Rich. I mean, Jonathan Hyde's been in a lot of stuff. And basically, from there, this documentary crew is out there, and they got to hunt down the Anaconda snake. And what works about this film, in my opinion, is the cast, because this cast is a very solid cast. Jennifer Lopez. I don't mind Jennifer Lopez in this film because I don't really watch. I never really watched many of Jennifer Lopez's movies. Like the main two I always liked from her were this film and The Cell, which I might talk about maybe during this month because I find that a very underrated one, The Cell. But I don't mind Jennifer Lopez. I think she does a fine job in this film. I like Ice Cube. I mean, Ice Cube has done some good films in his career. Boys in the Hood. I like Trespass with him and Bill Paxton. Things like that. It's really cool seeing Eric Stoltz in there. It's really cool seeing John Boyd plays a fun bad guy. And it's really cool, seeing an early role by Owen Wilson well before his comedy days in Wedding Crashers. It's cool, to say that, wow, it's Owen Wilson. Always cool seeing Carrie Wooer from a lot of other horror films, things like that. And I know a lot of these effects were CGI back in the day, and from what I hear, this is probably one of the very. I don't really know one of the first films they used CGI. I know some people might say the CGI maybe nowadays doesn't really hold up, and some of it is a little kind of outdated a little bit when you really look at it, because it is 19. But granted, you got to figure this is back in 1997, and CGI wasn't really used as much back in the 90s, things like that. But for the effects on the snake, I think the effects on the snake are fine. I think they look okay. I mean, they still. Some of them don't hold up as well. The effects don't really hold up today. Some of them don't hold up too well, but I think some of them do hold up. I think this is a fun creature film that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. I think this is a really underrated one. When I was talking about Bats, when I reviewed Bats, that was another creature film that got hated on a lot, doesn't get talked about, and I feel like this is another example. Because I really like the cast. I like the whole setting in the Amazon jungle. And the whole finale too, with when they're fighting off the Anaconda. That's a lot of fun. I think it's beautifully shot. It's a really beautifully shot film. I love the whole really great camera work. It's beautifully filmed. It's definitely got a really great look to the film. Because I think Luis Loza does a solid job in the directing, and but I'm not gonna. It's really hard for me to review Anaconda because Anaconda is really one of those films that I just think it's a fun creature film. I like the cast. It's just really cool seeing all these actors that you all recognize from a lot of other stuff in one movie all together. I think that's always cool, having a recognizable cast. I think the effects are still pretty decent to this day for the Anaconda, on the snake. Especially this one part when Owen Wilson gets swallowed by the snake, and you see his imprint in the snake's abdomen. You can see his face print, his being pressed up against the snake's abdomen. That's a pretty cool scene right there. And the whole finale too, when they're fighting off the snake, is a lot of fun. And this cast, works really, really well. I think that's what really makes this film work, is this cast. It's beautifully shot by Luis Loza. It's directed very well. And overall, I would say Anaconda is a worth-watching creature feature. Now, I will say one more thing. I would say I'm not a fan of this cover. I think it's a pretty lame cover because I think the VHS cover was a lot better with just the snake guys. Things like that. It's a much more creepier cover. This cover is not the not a fan of this cover, but I think it's a fun creature feature, no matter what. So that is pretty much it for my review for Anaconda, and thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, take care.